Hey guys, you're listening to the Algonquin Times Special Edition podcast. I'm Mickey Banks, reporter for the Algonquin Times, and I'm here with my co-host,
William Barritt, and we're talking about an interesting scientific research project going on right here at Algonquin College. And we're extra lucky because we have fellow Algonquin Times reporter Vasuman Ravichandran to break it down for us. Hey Vasuman, how are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing good.
So Vasu, since you're the expert, why don't you introduce yourself and explain to us your story?
Sure. So I'm Vasuman Ravichandran. I'm in the journalism program. I have a bit of a science background. I did environmental science in Carleton before, so I'm really into science journalism. So the official topic is net positive aquaponic greenhouse. So what that means is decoded. Net positive, which means it produces more energy than it takes to run the operation, the greenhouse, and it also sucks in more carbon dioxide than it produces. And aquaponic is basically there's plants growing in water, and there's fish in the water. The poop from the fish provides fertilizer for the plants to grow.
Wow.
And the fish also clean up the water that the plants are growing in by eating in the debris and things like that. So it's what's called a closed loop system. So it's like a little tiny ecosystem that's inside the greenhouse. So you don't need to put fertilizer and you can grow plants and fish together.
Okay, yeah, no, that seems really interesting. So I know that you have a real knack for covering these types of niche applied research stories. You've done quite a few of them before. And this story really does sound like one of your best. So how did you first come across this and what made you want to cover it?
So I was just walking around the applied research lab, and there was this big board, and it had the design plans for the greenhouse, and that was right up on the board. Like, it was the first thing I saw, and then it also had an open source, the symbol for open source.
What is that?
It's like a little symbol that for open source software and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So initially, I thought it was a software. What is this open source thing? Because when it's open source, I get immediately excited because it's nice that people can see it.
Yeah.
And so I then asked the professor, "What is this?" And she explained it to me. It's like the first of a kind greenhouse design for Canada.
And so can you just explain that just really quickly? So it's open source, meaning that they made this design and they're just putting it out for everyone to use, or what?
Yeah, exactly. So it's the first of its kind design for a greenhouse tailored to Canadian conditions. And it's on open source, which means anybody can access the plans, the design. And if they have the funding, if they're a builder or anything like that, they can use the design, and it's been tested. The whole project was to test the design if it's feasible. And it's turns out it works. And the great thing is it's on open source, so anybody can use it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and you said it's in your original story that it also scales, right? Like it's can be bigger, smaller, depending on what people need.
Yeah, it's scalable. And the prototype initially was going to be built in Morris Island. And
Where's that?
That's like, I think it's on the outskirts of Ottawa. There's like a green belt.
Okay, so farther away
somewhere.
from us.
Yeah. And that was the land that they initially planned to build it on. And that was going to be, to give you the figures, it could produce something like enough fish and groceries to sort of, for a year, for a population of 2,000 people. And but that design was actually like quite a big design, and the thing about the design is that it can be tailor-made for a local community. Like maybe a small town can have like one greenhouse that everybody can use. So that's
Awesome. And was there any interesting facts about the greenhouse that you weren't able to fit into your story?
Interesting facts. Okay, something related to it, actually. So the technology that is used in heating the greenhouse, because it needs to be kept at a decent temperature, they use something called it's earth tubes or ground tubes or earth tubes, which is basically you run these tubes underground below the floor. So it's like it could be air or it could be water. It's heated water or air. And to install one of those, even for a house, it costs about $2,200,
Wow.
and it lasts 50 years.
Jeez, yeah,
And
and I know stuff needs to be replaced quite a bit more often.
yeah,
Otherwise, yeah.
the existing technology that we have now, if it's not an apartment with electrical floorboard heating, often big houses, they have furnaces and which have to be replaced like every 7 years or something.
Yeah.
That costs like over 10,000 to install and things like that. So that's something I might have wanted to let the public know that this technology is available. It's being used outside Canada, like in Norway, which is just as cold.
I can guarantee you there's some heat technicians that are very angry about that taking their jobs. That it's every 50 years now. Instead of the
exactly.
odd 7 that they come knocking on your door asking to
Yeah.
fix a furnace.
Well, they
Yeah.
got to adapt.
Yep, that's it. So yeah, like all of this, it does sound very interesting. I'm sure you can understand it's quite complicated. And someone maybe like me that's not as well versed in this scientific stuff, it might sound quite intimidating. So how do you, like beyond the jargon, the data, and the conclusions that come for this, how do you make this unique design actually relevant for the average person around our community?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, when it comes to like decanting the jargon and getting it through to people to understand, I think I have a few people that I take inspiration from, like just in terms of communicating science or communicating scientific ideas, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, and also the journalism course has really helped me understand what kind of language and tone to use to reach the wider audience. And I mean, I have a background in science, but back then, like if I had to write something, it would be in such academic language, and that's one thing that I really got annoyed with. And when it comes to biology, like all the names are in Greek and Latin, and I was always wondering why the hell are we having Greek and Latin names?
Yeah, why can't we make this more simple? I guess?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's slowly become a passion of mine to try and write in a way that makes sense to everyone and makes sense to me more.
It's a very valuable role because it's that is the goal of journalism, right? It's to explain something in a short and concise way and to inform people. And I think with scientific stuff like that, it's even more necessary because, like you said, it can be quite jargony and hard to understand. So yeah, no, it means a lot.
So, kind of carrying on with that, how do you break it down so that people in our community can really understand why it matters to them?
Why it matters to them, I think it actually, I was pretty shocked by a statistic I read when I was researching the story. About 10 million Canadians live with food insecurity. And I mean, it's a population of 44 million, I think we have right now.
God, yeah.
And so that's almost like 20 to 25% of the population. And it's a stark statistic. And recently, of course, it got worse because in Ontario, there were at least 3 or 4 towns that declared a food emergency. And food banks were running out of food and things like that. And of course, with the tariffs and with the higher prices of groceries. So I think because of that, and Canada imports, like, when it comes to food, like fruits and vegetables and leafy greens, we import like 90% of our leafy greens from the US.
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
And 80% of the fruits are imported.
I
And
did not know that.
yeah, and vegetables is something like 58%, something like that. And so I think there's a call to action from a lot of people around to become self-sufficient when it comes to produce. And in terms of dairy and meat, we're actually self-sufficient. But in produce, because of our temperatures, we're not even close to being self-sufficient. So that's why I thought this greenhouse idea, because it's built in such a way that it can connect to a local community, and it can, in fact, another great thing about this design is that it produces way more electricity than it consumes. So you could actually use it to charge vehicles.
Oh, wow.
that could come and pick up the groceries and, go to places. So yeah,
Multitasking.
Yeah, well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's really interesting. So wrapping up, like, what are some other areas that you think you're going to shed some light on next in applied research?
There's actually one project that started in the fall semester. It's so the biotechnology students are they're joining up with a biotechnology corporation from Quebec called Keen Biotechnology, and it's for making a spray, like a disinfectant spray, that uses a certain virus that only attacks bad bacteria. And so it leaves the good bacteria alone, which means that if this spray is used on an industrial scale or in a hospital setting, and that goes into the water supply, because everything that we use and we flush it down, it goes into the water supply, and we kind of forget about it. It's
Wow,
flushed.
yeah.
But something like this, if it is used in an industry where like large amounts of refuse goes into the water supply, these things, this spray would not affect any of the useful microbes and the bacteria and the life forms in the water supply. It would only kill the bad bacteria, basically. So that's I thought that was an interesting one.
Yeah, I think that's definitely worth covering. I think so.
Yeah.
All right, that was really good, man. That's all the time we have for today. I'm Mickey Banks.
And I'm William Barritt, and that was the Algonquin Times Special Edition podcast. For more episodes and local college reporting, check out the Algonquin Times website. Thanks for living, and have a great rest of your day, listeners. And you, Vasuman. Thank you.
Thank you.